Subscribe to my channel before we begin, because stories like this hit differently when you've lived long enough to understand how time bends. 7 years is a long time to erase someone's voice from your memory. Yet the moment I heard hers that night, it felt as if the years had only been asleep, not gone. I was at a quiet Italian restaurant downtown. Dim lighting, warm bread scenting the air, the aroma of garlic drifting like a half-forgotten memory. Friday night, eating alone after work. I just closed a deal at the firm and promised myself a rare evening of silence. Phone on silent, jacket draped over the chair next to me, mind unusually clear. Then I heard it. Laughter. Her laughter. Soft, familiar, that same rhythm that used to bounce around our kitchen years ago. I froze before even glancing over, almost convincing myself it was a trick of memory. 7 years is long enough for recollections to glitch. But when I finally looked, there she was. Emily. Same posture, the unconscious habit of tucking her hair behind her ear when she laughed. Different haircut, slightly shorter. A man across from her I couldn't quite make out. But the way she leaned toward him, comfortable and at ease, mirrored the tilt she once reserved for me. My chest tightened. Not jealousy. Something stranger, the eerie recognition that someone who once held the blueprint of your heart now sat as a stranger mere feet away. I tried to focus on my food, but my fork trembled. The waiter asked if I needed anything. No, I said, voice breaking. My appetite vanished. Part of me wanted to flee, but another part, the part that still remembers her birthday without thinking, wanted to stay. 7 years since our divorce. 7 years since seeing her in person. I'd often imagined what it would be like to run into her. Would I pretend I was fine? Apologize? Or just pass by as if nothing had happened? I didn't need to decide. She stood first. I felt her presence before I saw her. She walked over and stopped beside my table. For one suspended moment, neither of us spoke. The music filled the silence. Sinatra singing about second chances. Daniel, she finally said, voice steady. Though I could see her hands clutching her purse, I looked up, and for a moment the years melted away. I was 28 again, sitting on her old couch watching her read under the lamp. Hi, I managed. She gave a small, guarded smile. It really is you. Last time I checked, I said, attempting laughter through the awkward weight of unsaid words. How have you been? She asked. Good. Busy with work. You? Managing, she said, a glance back at her table. I nodded. That counts. She shifted slightly, unsure whether to stay. Then she looked at my plate. You always order the carbonara, she murmured. Said it felt like comfort. I smiled. It still does. That small memory bridged the distance between us for just a second. The waiter refilled my water, nodding politely at her. 7 years, she whispered. Feels like another lifetime. Maybe it was, I replied. She truly looked at me then. I saw the same faint tiredness beneath her eyes, the one left behind by late-night fights over work, tiny misunderstandings that had become walls. You look good, she said softly. Thanks. You too. Then, finally, the words that weren't small talk. Daniel, I still think about what I said that night. The night you left. My throat tightened. Before I could answer, the man she'd been with approached. Everything okay, Em? He asked. She nodded quickly. Yeah. Just saying hi to an old friend. She turned back to me. It was good seeing you. You too, I said. She stepped away, then paused, looking back with eyes slightly wet. Maybe it's not too late to apologize, she whispered. Before I could speak, she returned to her table, to her life, to the candlelight. I sat, pulse hammering, trying to decode her words. Apologize for what? Leaving? Staying too long? Breaking what neither of us could repair? I didn't know yet, but I would find out. I paid my bill and stepped outside. Cool night air, streets damp from an earlier drizzle. I lingered under the awning, debating whether to go back inside and speak. But what would I even say? It's fine. Don't worry. Truth was, I didn't even know which part of our past she regretted. I walked to my car, and memories from that night 7 years ago came flooding back. Started small, like it always did. She said I cared more about work than us. I said she didn't understand pressure. She called me cold. I said she was cruel. Then, calm and final, I don't love you anymore, Daniel. I packed a bag, expecting her to stop me. She didn't. That memory used to cut the deepest. Time dulled it. I built a quiet life, steady and uneventful. But hearing her voice tonight reignited embers I thought long extinguished. I drove home with the windows down, neon lights sliding past like ghosts. I told myself, forget this by morning. But at home, the silence hit heavy, and her words replayed, clearer than before. Maybe it's not too late to apologize. Near midnight, I poured bourbon and sat by the window as the rain returned steady. I scrolled through old messages I never deleted, fragments, grocery lists, faded photos, reminders of when life was simple. Then I opened the last text before the divorce papers. I hope you find peace, Daniel. Back then, I read it as a final goodbye. 7 years later, I wondered if she ever truly found it herself. I didn't call, didn't text. Some things aren't meant to be revived, but sleep wouldn't come. The next morning, I walked through the fog-laden park near my place. Then I saw her, alone on a bench, coffee in hand, staring at the lake. She looked up, a little embarrassed. "You again," she said softly. "Guess we both needed air," I replied. She laughed lightly. We sat side by side, quietly, fog drifting over the water, ducks paddling. Finally, she spoke. "About last night, I never meant to stir anything up." "You didn't," I lied. She turned to me, steady eyes. "I just needed to apologize for how I ended things. I was angry. I thought leaving you would make me happy. It didn't." I said nothing. Silence sometimes is the truest reply. She looked down at her hands. "I kept telling myself you didn't care. But you did. You just didn't know how to show it." I nodded. "We both messed up." "Yeah," she whispered. "But I think I made the biggest mistake." We stayed there, knowing nothing could be fixed, but also realizing nothing was broken anymore. When she stood, she brushed her hand gently on my shoulder. "Take care of yourself, Daniel." "You too, Emily." She smiled and walked into the fog without looking back. I lingered, watching as morning light broke through clouds, illuminating the lake just right. For the first time in years, I felt a quiet peace. Forgiveness doesn't always arrive with drama or fanfare. Sometimes it comes softly, in words spoken late, years after the fact. That night in the restaurant, I thought her words shook me because of the pain in them. Now I understand, they shook me because they carried something else entirely.